Hello everyone to the final selection, the highlight of the Clarion Corp trial season, where everyone's going to be coming into it and everyone's going to be here to win it. Together with me is Nitron. How you doing?
Hello. I am doing quite well. How are you, Mr. Slough?
I'm doing fine myself. I'm excited to see people play it out, right? Because we got the finale of the season. We only have one team so far that has, I guess you can say, graduated from the Clarion Corp trials. And today we're gonna find the second team that's gonna be doing that. And yeah, we do have an interesting bracket today. Again, as a reminder, we have Baguette Boys versus Keep the Flip on one side of the bracket, and on the other side you have Norm Sunday against Smoking Lucio. So that is gonna be great and underway. We are gonna be watching the Baguette Boys against Keep the Flip as they're currently navigating through the preparations for the very first game. They're gonna start off with Taiko Temple. Shocker, that never happens. We don't play Taiko in Europe. That's like so doesn't exist. And do you know what game 2 is gonna be? No. do you have an inkling?
Let me guess. Let me take a stab in the dark. Atlab.
It is Atlab. Whoa, that never happens. So we're going Taiko Atlab, and then the decider, if it comes down to it, is going to be Night Market. Again, a little bit less common, but still played enough within Europe. And yeah, they're currently also going through the Awakening generation process and banning out the characters. And the Awakening stat they did get, by the way, were Monumentalist Hotshot. Any thoughts on that, Nitron? Like, it's on Taiko?
I do think, presuming it's Taiko, I do think that naturally Atlas is going to be the prime goalie pick people will be looking towards. I think, especially because it's just so good on Taiko, and I'm pretty sure they do. I think both teams, I'm pretty sure, do play Atlas to some degree, if I recall correctly. So I do think it's going to be pretty good, especially because it is pretty decent against dealing with a lot of brawlers, which is prime control on Taiko. But I do think that there is a very easy way to counter that, and I am waiting to see if teams will try to do that because of Hotshot start, which is obviously a very good way to deal with Atlas. So I wonder how that's going to go.
Yeah, talking about the Atlas, they already did their bans, and Atlas is banned, so neither of them really messing with that idea or having to deal with it. The other ban, I feel like, is also pretty decently obvious. It's Juno. Hotshot, of course, you want to get rid of Juno. So, two very good Hotshot users taken out, but that, to me, leaves one huge gap that probably should be prioritized. We have a Monumentalist start. Now is pickable and playable. And Teidus is already hovering it, so I'm curious to see if maybe the side of Keep the Flip, who've chosen blue side for this game on, are going to be opting to just prioing out this now, maybe even putting it on Sylvia on the midfield, or if they're going to do something else. They're going for the Estelle, which is still very valid.
I think going for the Estelle is actually very good for them, because as good as now is with Monumentalist, I don't think you want to leave something like Amy Estelle open in a Hotshot start, especially because Amy can go goalie and Estelle can go midfield, and with Hotshot start, that is a pretty devastating combination of characters you can pull off. And I don't think they want to leave those two picks for the enemy team, but they do lose the now in return for getting that Estelle pick in.
Yeah, and they lose a lot of movement speed, and that's a bit scary on a map like Taiko. And honestly, I don't know if I've seen the shoe Amy before, but I'm excited to see it play out as we're gonna go into the game now. We have very movement speed heavy on the side of the Baguette Boys against very control heavy on the side of Keep the Flip. Hot shots are being picked up by 3 people and 3 Monumentalists as well, which, to be fair, now era, I'm not too surprised that they're going for the hot shot. I am a bit surprised that the shoe is going for it on Amy, but it could just be a pure pressure thing, right? Make the turret be as difficult as possible to deal with, especially if Malriknos is on something like the now.
I do think that Amy... Well, I was about to say, but it does seem that move speed is overwhelming them quite a lot, as they were unable to deal with the era screaming through them there. But I do think that, especially because Amy Estelle doesn't have a very good time dealing with barrier takes on a map like Taiko, I do think that the Amy ult is going to be very important for it, due to how tight the corners are. But we'll see. We'll see how it works out for them.
I mean, for now, the Baguette Boys seem to be in pretty clear control of the game, because that was a really, like, clean barrier take, double barrier take by Zealous into finding the opening at the bottom there as well. So, trying to catch a groove for the side to Keep the Flip here as they're going almost down a set. The the side of the Get Boys need one more goal, which obviously it's still pretty much a challenge to be getting, and especially now with the Shu getting the double barrier of their own there is going to be really nice for the side to keep the flip. But point's not over yet, and you see that hotshot Mako coming through as well. That primary sending core red speed almost immediately is incredibly valuable as well.
The Shu is quite low though, so they and strike shot into now primary does get that. Strike shot, not the, I believe not the most picked awakening on now goalie, if I recall correctly, but it seems to be working out wonders for them here.
Yeah, it really adjusts to like what the playstyle is that you're going for, right? Strike shot's really nice if you want to play it a bit more back and you want to have forward influence. But the Baguette Boys starting off really strong here, by the way. 3-0 set, get a priority pick here as well. Can potentially get some size on the Rasmus, which we do have 2 awakenings on, but there's also other like heavy hitters here. Heavy impact, fight or flight, deadeye, missile prop. This could be a bit dangerous. Do you have any preferences going into this draft? What are you looking at here mainly?
What I was looking at is exactly what Tatus decided to deny, which is the heavy impact on that now. I think it would have been really oppressive for them. I think that was one of the picks they really want. I do not like the Deadeye take, the lack of Deadeye take from the Amy here. I would probably prefer that over size, but that does force the Now to take it, which isn't ideal. But it was a very interesting draft, but I do think it was overall a good draft for the red team.
Yeah, most definitely. The Baguette Boys kind of got everything that they were looking for. The Deadeye deny on now, obviously not what you're specifically looking for, but you get speed on Arrow, which is nice. You get size on the Rasmus. Meanwhile, the side of Keep the Flip still get like decent value out of their awakenings, but I don't think it matches up quite as much as the Baguette Boys, and they're also doing a lot of damage, right? This is like the weird thing about the meta that we're currently in. I wouldn't think of now Era Rasmus to be a team comp that can play for KO, but it's just kind of happening all the time anyways, just due to the cooldown upkeep that is around, and due to just the Awakening Star in rotation as well, right, on the baseline. So the Shu was being taken out there. It's now back on the field, and they're getting an attack going for the side of Keep the Flip and trying to get it in, but the defense from Malriknos and Clement are just doing so good to keep the score away, making it so difficult for Keep the Flip to get themselves going, especially because they're lacking a proper brawler pick, right? They don't have that Julie or something up front that will just dash punch it through the Now, which gives Malriknos a lot of room to work with, and the clear does not find its way out perfectly. So the Baguette Boys take another goal.
It is quite hard for now for Mako rather to play on open goal, so I think they do really need to make sure that they keep those barriers up for as long as they possibly can, because that's where Mako thrives more than anything else. But again, the more time that the red team is able to keep core possession, the more damage they will be able to put out. Especially, well, exactly like this, especially because of the siphoning era, which is not something you see nowadays, but with the meta being the way it is, it seems to be working out wonderfully for them.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of damage out, and again, just being very oppressive, and especially with the creations as well. You wouldn't, like, Era, Monumentalist, really annoying and difficult to deal with. Now Monumentalist really annoying to deal with, which means whenever these awakenings or these creations are on the field, you can be the best at controlling the core. Keep the Flip will have a difficult time still adjusting to it properly. And here the Flip comes out from Malriknos as well, holding onto the barrier. The strikes do not find their target. Zealous taking a lot of damage now, but not in danger of being taken out just yet. Doesn't have an evade available, so if the damage dump will come through, there's nothing that Zealous can do to avoid it. As the Shu almost gets the core through, but no, the defense still holds strong. And yet again, the Baguette Boys on the attack against Keep the Flip. The Shu has a flip soon, so Keep the Flip might not want to keep it this time around. They do get one barrier, they get the flip out, and they get the goal with it. Really good usage there. Being able to hold the flip until the barrier has dropped and then use it to confirm the actual score.
I do think that this set is going to be particularly important for the blue team. Mostly because of how, due to the lack of kill pressure that they do have, the finish off pressure that they do have. Amy and Estelle are not particularly good finisher characters. Mako with Strike Shot could be a bit worse, but not what you want either way. And like, if they do deny a lot of the kill awakenings that will be present in the next draft, they will have an easier time getting those KOs because they will be able to have more abilities. To rather deal more damage with less abilities, which will help a lot in their finishing off of skills. I really do think this is going to be the most important set out of the 5.
Yeah, most definitely, because it also just puts you into such a, like, strong position if you're the Baguette Boys. If you win it, you're putting yourself only 1 goal set away from taking the first game, and if you keep the flip, you're keeping your chances alive, together with the priorities of just the Awakenings that are still in rotation. And as of right now, a bit ago, a very, like, that's the pressure of Monumentalist era. That ultimate, that Maelstrom, just so unavoidable, really. In certain situations, gets a KO, and off of that KO they were able to get themselves into a power play position as well, and are now 1 goal away from taking a second set, as the Shu almost gets a KO there, tries to make use of these pummelers, but just couldn't get the value out of it.
I do feel like Zealous and Clement are playing really well around the Mako pick. The Mako's particularly good at anti-stuffing, but they're playing really well around passing around the Mako and being able to take barriers that the Mako really can't answer to. They're doing a really good job at it.
Yeah, most definitely. The flip has to come out. It gets defended properly there. Baguette Boy's not able to take the second barrier just yet, trying to get the attack going. Taedus gets an awkward bounce there in the end. Shu gets a core control in, and Game B is a bit careful here. Yeah, it does have to use the flip now. Probably wanted to use that for an evade now. Probably wanted to use it for a flip, as the kill almost gets found a bouncy castle. Just doing work. The Rasmus sending the Shu everywhere. And in the end, off the map as well, as again, the Baguette Boys in that power play, and they're looking to close out the set as soon as they can. Malriknos also playing a bit up, but the respawn from the Shu comes through. The Demi turret will drop and strikes into it. Will be enough. Malriknos doesn't have the abilities to defend it, and we're going to a 0.5 for this very crucial set.
I do think that the win con for Team Red is just keeping up the core pressure as much as they can, because they do have in terms of KOing, they do have the better potential. They do have a lot of move speed, which is something they can abuse. What they lack is the ability to keep up the core pressure in long range, which is Cell and you're really good at doing, especially with Strike Shot Mako as well. If they are able to, with now support, keep that core pressure, I think that's going to be the win con.
Yeah, most definitely, especially because keep in mind, I don't think we haven't seen any Dash Awakenings in draft yet, and if Taedus is going to be able to pick some of those up in this draft, that's going to be incredibly valuable, because it helps keeping up that core in the enemy half as well, and in the end, the core finds its way in the net, so keep the flip very much still alive and fighting here, as they're taking one step for themselves, and we do have extra special, which together with the Monumentalist could be quite neat. And even if it does get denied, you have Timeless Creator. This could be like a turret Amy build if I've ever seen one. Other than that, Aerials is something to be looking at. Going on to the Estelle here, knowing that that's going to be picked up by the Era or the Now. Never falling down to Mako. And the extra special falls down to Amy. This turret could be getting problematic now for the side of the Baguette Boys.
I think this is a very unfortunate draft for Blue Team. Amy with the Monu trying to play for a lot of her ult, but getting extra special and timeless on the same draft means she can't get one of them, which is quite unfortunate. And simultaneously getting that Mako last pick really screws up a lot of what they wanted to do. I do think Red Team once again got the better draft, but that's only in theory, naturally. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate, but in the end, some Awakening still just hold value, right? Estelle with the dash, it's going to be able to get themselves a lot more involved across the field. The Shu has the turrets a lot more often, and Taedus even just the peak performance, right? It's going to help with a little bit of survivability, which isn't really the issue, but the little bit of movement speed that you get from it as well can be invaluable, just to reach a core that you otherwise would not be able to. But again, like you said, it's going to come down to execution, it's going to come down to play, as both teams have already dropped both their barriers, and unfortunately that core does not find its way past Clement. Taedus not able to walk up in time and defend it, as the Baguette Boys find another goal, but again, it's just one of 3 that they need to win this set.
I do think that the blue team really does need to keep in mind those pass angles that the red team is getting off a lot of times, and they maybe shouldn't, especially because Estelle and Amy are such good characters to cut off a lot of those passes with abilities and whatnot. They are very wide-reaching characters on what they can do. So I do think that's something they very much have to keep in mind in order to win this game.
Yeah, most definitely. But it is so difficult to properly interrupt stuff like that, especially because the Baguette Boys, they're one of the longer-standing teams in the realm of the Clarion Corp trials. It has been mainly Malriknos and as I yapped, they just find another goal again. But it's been mainly been Malriknos and Zelos who have been playing together a bit. Clement, I think, came in as Miyoshi was able to actually hit into Challenger, which congratulations to them. But unfortunately, now you can't play Clarion Corp Trials anymore. And kind of similar thing goes for Keep the Flip, as I believe the Shu and Teidus have been playing together quite a bit already as well. But I feel like that baseline synergy that you have on the Baguette Boys is what is being shown here as well. Just these passing plays, this positioning that works out a lot better and makes it so difficult for Keep the Flip to really play into them. As again, both sides lose one barrier. Second barrier does drop being taken by Clement there, but Sylvia trying to rush up, does not get the core touch on it though. And Azelos with Flip at the bottom is going to be able to set themselves up, but the core does land in the hands of Teidus. Flip comes out, Sylvia defends, and the barrier will actually drop on the side of the Baguette Boys as the Shu's trying to make something out of it, but cannot get the proper attack going. Turret coming down, this core still being passed back and forth. All three members of Keep the Flip on the defense there. Flip coming out to actually get the core out, and still no solid angle found. The Era Beam comes through in time though, and the Baguette Boys again with a 3-0 set, which is quite a difference to what we saw last time around. They're gonna get rewarded with an Era first pick as well.
This was a very dominant performance, the set from the Baguette Boys. This is a really good draft for them as well, especially because the Era is, especially because Amy is last pick and she can get that super surge that she really wants. Era can get Twin Drive, which is amazing on her. Rasmus doesn't have that many picks that are particularly good. That is probably my biggest point of concern. But once again, I do think that a lot of these drafts are favoring Red Team, not necessarily by their choices, but just by the luck of the draft, I guess.
Yeah, you just get cooldowns on now, right? Who already has Monumentalists. You get Prime Time on Clement. Well, obviously, Era Beam being like one of the most annoying things to be dealing with. Now, to be fair, again, Keep the Flip does not have any brawler picks, so it's not as painful. But even on a midfielder, even on an Estelle or an Amy, losing that size and that movement speed is not very nice. As we now see who's going to be able to set themselves up. Clement actually, together with a Stinger pickup, a bit careful there not to be taken out, but it's actually the Shu that gets found as Zelos makes use of that Erasmus primary and does find the KO. Again, the attack going, and Clement being put low, but Monumentalist now taking quick care of that, giving some of the HP back, and the barrier does drop now in the end. A clean strike war win will actually secure the point. Baguette Boys going up 1-0 again.
I do think that Stinger pickup might be what allows the Shu to get a lot more KOs than he usually was, especially because he's running pummelers, and we sadly he hasn't been able to get as much value from it as you normally would want to. So that might be the Stinger is quite a good pickup. It's a matter of time to see if it will be able to outlast the Twin Drive now with a lot of the healing that is coming out from them. We'll see how it goes, but it's definitely something they can look forward to.
Yeah, most definitely, but we'll have to see, as, again, the barrier doesn't find its way, it doesn't get dropped just yet. Keep the Flip just having a bit of that difficulty at actually getting the KO. Talking about KOs there, Zelos finding another one on the Shu just really being hunted out here by, again, this unexpected amount of damage that's being put out by the Baguette Boys as they take a barrier. Clement positioning themselves for a flip, and a beautiful strike actually makes it so they don't even have to use it. So this puts the Baguette Boys into a really, really good position here. They're one goal away from taking the first game of this best-of-3 series, and they have 2 flips to do that.
Silvio is getting his flip. Well, as I said, he uses it. I do think that was a bit of an early flip, especially considering the situation they were in. But they do have a lot of damage on Malriknos, and they're actually staggered. That's definitely something... well, of course now we'll mitigate that completely, but that was definitely a window for them to turn this game around a little bit. But well, 2 flips are out, which means that they do have a lot of that danger away from them. But having lost 2 people, Teidus is trying to be a one-man army.
Yeah, but the one-man army is holding on for now, but again, clean passing plays from the side of the Baguette Boys will actually secure them that goal, and a bit unfortunate for Teidus because a lot of abilities had to be used to interrupt the core early there, which meant towards the end there wasn't really anything available to them anymore to really contest the core from that point onward. And again, just passing around the goalie, it's tried and true, it's effective, and it gives the Baguette Boys the game 1 victory of this series with Taiko Temple, which I do believe was their own map pick. I might be wrong about that, but yeah, I mean, if you're looking at stats as well, you can look at like the redirects the decent bit as well. It does seem like the Baguette Boys were just in control most of the time, and also 10 KOs across the board from that team comp is not something I would have expected.
It is a very overwhelming win from the Baguette Boys, even though they did lose that second set. It was a very dominating performance from them. I'm curious what you think the two teams need to do going into this game to try to secure the victory.
It's kind of difficult to say, right? Because we're going to be on AtLab. It's going to be a different game, that's for certain. And I feel like it might just be finding your own kind of game plan a bit better. Because the thing is, the Baguette Boys, they have a very clear game plan in what they pick, right? They just want to out-movement speed the enemy. They want to out-control them. They want to do as much damage as possible in just taking down barriers, while also using characters that can passively generate a lot of damage and play for KOs. Again, they got 10 KOs on that team comp, because, again, a large part of it probably was something like the Monyu now that can have a lot of influence on it as well. For the side of Keep the Flip, it's a bit difficult to say, mainly because they were running a double midfield comp, which is very difficult to execute at any level of play, right? So personally, I would like the Shu to go more into a brawler position again, pick up that Julie or that Kazan that he's been doing on so well in the previous selections, and just play that shoving role essentially up front. Which again, I can understand why Damien was being picked in this game, because again, it's hotshot Monyu, really not brawler-friendly awakenings. So it's difficult to find a good brawler. Thinking about picking that Amy for them is very logical, but it didn't seem to turn out the way they wanted it to. So kind of keep it short, keep the flip, go for a more brawler, pick up more traditional team comp, and play through that. And for the side of the Baguette Boys, honestly, just kind of do what you have been doing, because it seems to be working so well for you.
I do think that you are disrespecting the Monumentalist Kazan a lot. It is definitely one of my preferred picks when I'm playing that character. No, but I do very much agree that it would be a very safer bet for the side of Keep the Flip to run a more traditional brawler comp. It would have been even better in a map like Tycho. In a map like Atlas, the double midfield comp does have a higher chance to succeed, I believe. This is just how open the map is compared to Tycho. So if they do want to run the same thing twice, I do think there is a higher chance of them succeeding in this case, especially depending on starting awakenings. But again, if I think right now it is, since they're one set down, I think it is a time for them to play a bit safe, to go back to something they know they can do well and something not nearly as risky. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, most definitely. And looking at the next game already, that has already been done. The awakenings have been determined. It's going to be Glass Cannon and Built Different. So again, another size pickup, which could be interesting for Zelos. Maybe running back that Erasmus on AtLab if it's going to be available to them. The band's coming out as well. The Baguette Boys taking out Estelle, and Keep the Flip taking out the Atlas again. So very much Atlas respect coming out from the side of Keep the Flip, not wanting to give Malriknos that Atlas pick that, again, he's historically been good on. Across all of the CCT seasons where he did play, the Atlas seemed to be a pretty solid and consistent pickup for him. But again, that leaves some picks open. Now, on a Glass Cannon Built Different start, I'm not sure if anything really jumps out to me, but especially with a Built Different start, I am hoping to Shu play something like a Kazan here.
It definitely does give him a lot more versatility on when he's able to play based on awakenings. Glass Cannon being a good awakening for more midfield characters, Built Different being a good awakening for basically every forward. And we do see the Kazan coming out from hopefully the Shu, and the Drakkar midfield is what I presume is happening here, which is definitely a more aesthetically pleasing team comp, considering what you want to do, especially with that Mako. I do think I really like the team comp from them this time around. Though it is a team comp that does struggle a bit against Juno, so we'll see how this plays out.
We will definitely see, as Build Difference being picked up by almost everyone, only Malriknos on the Glass Cannon, but together with the Mom Boots, this Vinny is going to have so much movement speed to be working with and be a threat across the board here, as again, one barrier drops. They're an AtLab, so, you know, who cares about one barrier realistically? The Shu going for both of them there, but only gets one, as the attack still is very much alive. The Juno is going to be pretty difficult to be dealing with, as you mentioned, but I feel like Kazan Drakkar is also really annoying for a Finny to deal with defensively.
I think this game is once again going to be a lot of matter of what last game was, which is which team is able to keep core control a lot more often than not. If the red team is able to keep core control, I think that they will have a far easier time dealing with the blue team, especially because, as you mentioned, Finny's lack of tools to deal with Kazan Drekar. But you do see a lot of damage already coming out from the blue team. Even with that Vambrace Kazan, that I do think is a good pickup, they still managed to get enough damage out to get the kill.
Yeah, that is just... First of all, there's stuff like that where you can find them on the edge. Zealous is being clinical about finding kills like that, but also the Finny change that has happened a few patches ago now, where I think her debuff amplifies damage by teammates by 30%. So if you get hit by that debuff at any point, and Clemo and Zealous are really like honing in on trying to take you out, you will be taking a lot of damage, and you will be going low. And you saw it already, because we're only 1 point in, and 2 KOs have been found for the Baguette Boys in total, which is essentially what you want to be playing for if you're on a map like Atlab, if you have something like a Finny, and even if you have something like Juno, who will just do a lot of coincidental damage by just having Blobos across the entire field.
We are seeing a pattern of behavior from Clemens, going for siphoning on both times on midfields, which isn't the most common pick. But again, they've been able to get a lot of value out from it, and Pression kills a lot these 2 games, especially with this Finny.
That was definitely Shu just fighting for his life here as the defense from Keep the Flipper just trying to hold on to the point. Sylvia with a nice flip though will get it out and get a barrier in turn as well. 1 flip coming out from Maliknos. Zealous now put down into stagger. Cannot get the kill confirmed, so this opens up the door for the Shu to try to find it, and that flip has to be used to stay alive. Both the brawlers just trying to do something here. Flip comes out from Teidu's really great, and the Vambrace coming in to shoot the full HP. Zilvio gets the kill confirmed there as well, and Malriknos still holds on for now as the Juno Blobo will actually send the core flying almost past Teidu's, but Teidu's is there in time. The attack still very much being built though. The Shu almost getting the core through, but not quite in the end, as now Zealous is back on the field. The strikes finding themselves onto the core, but no one really getting themselves in a good situation. The black hole respawn, really unfortunate there. But the Mako primary completely shutting down that flip perfectly, as again, the core's just being bounced around, trying to find themselves a really good situation. And the core does go in an incredibly awkward situation there, but the Shu pushes Malriknos away, and so they cannot reach the core anymore. Teidus gets credited with that goal.
I do think it was, this point particularly, it was a good performance from both goalies. Malriknos getting a lot of value and being able to use that glass cannon momentum with its combination really well. And cutting off one of Finny's issues, which is a lot of the defending ones both barriers right now. That movement speed did allow him to get a lot of saves that he normally wouldn't be able to. And on the other hand, Teidus was really good at keeping up the pressure, especially against Clement, with a lot of those strike shots and Mako primaries, which is ultimately what allowed him to score that point.
Yeah, most definitely. A nice clean clear from Malriknos actually does get the core out in a situation where it felt like the barrier was sure to be falling, but didn't drop in the end. Zealous taking a lot of damage again. Obviously, the damage output from the side of Keep the Flip very much not to be underestimated either. And it can only get better if you get the right awakenings for it. But for now, Zealous still staying alive. To shoot, trying to find a confirmant. Will find it now as Keep the Flip is going in with the power play. A lot of damage finding its way onto Silvio. Flip coming out from Malriknos, but does not find the target. Flip from Silvio coming out now, trying to take the second barrier, but a clean clear from Malriknos will actually get the core out. Almost barrier taken, but no, the defense from the side of the Get Boys is just too strong right now.
This game is feeling far more even than last game is, both in terms of core pressure, both in terms of KO potential, because we see KOs coming out from both teams equally. There is, that was a little bit of an oopsie from Mako, trying to go for vertical clear, but missing and going into the core, into its own goal rather. But I really am liking the performance from Red Team a lot more this game.
Yeah, I appreciate the Soren angle at that point, because I see the vision as well. You didn't really have a clean pass up, but it did go a little bit south, and again, both teams dropping one barrier pretty soon into the point. Again, nothing new on the map like Atlab. As the clears get found out, the Finny ultimate will come through, but doesn't get the core into any clean position. Malriknos with a nice clear though, just making it so difficult to really Keep the Flip a chance to set themselves up and put themselves in a position where he cannot clear out of, because he's just finding these angles over and over again. Silvio now walking up with this Drekar, but again, low HP, gets taken out. Clean combo from the side of the Get Boys there, as the Shu's trying to get some HP back by just hitting the enemy. This Vambrace is coming in pretty clutch for him now. But we'll have to see if it's going to be enough. The attack being built and the combo and combination, again, just being a bit too strong there for Keep the Flip to defend against, as the barrier does drop, and an open goal now for the Mach to defend. It's not a favorite position for her to be in, but she will be able to do just fine if she has her abilities. Flip coming out, doesn't find the target, and now the Shu on the attack against Malriknos.
They do have 2 flips. The Shu has flip, ETOS has his, so they are in a very good position to take this last point. Malriknos did just get his flip up, which makes it hard for the Shu to get a score in, and he doesn't, but it's flip for flip. Red team is still has the potential on that front, but they don't have barriers, whereas blue team do. So this is going to be a tricky point for them.
Yeah, and you really do not want to be underusing the flip. Has to use it there, because if you're not using the flip this point and you're giving the point to the Baguette boys, well, the set's over, right? And another KO gets found. Clement together with that Juno doing such a good job, but a really nice snipe from ETOS will actually get the barrier there. The Shu now interrupting on this Kazan, doing everything he can to make it as difficult as possible for the side of the Baguette boys to clean themselves up and get a nice attack going. As the back core bounces back and forth, the Shu put into stagger. Needs to be careful around these edges here to not be taken out. But again, the defense from Keep the Flip holding on. The core flying around incredibly awkwardly. The strike not finding its target by the Shu there. But still, both sides holding on very much to their dear lives here. The core does go up, but the momentum boots Glass Cannon just a bit too much movement speed. Malriknos can just walk up to it, but the Shu with a nice crooked leverage will find it and put us to a 0.5 in this first set. And with how volatile this game has been, it's been very back and forth. A lot of damage has been found from both sides. Winning a first set is going to give you the opportunity at dibs on something like a heavy impact, more size for both of the brawlers, or a Deadeye. So incredibly important set for both of the teams to win here.
It seems like the Shu is having a bit of a hard time getting a lot of those barriers and a lot of those scores into Stephanie, which he normally would be able to. But I do get it, because a lot of his abilities are being used to either deal damage or survive the damage, which is what a lot often is happening to them. The Shu is being staggered a lot of the game. But a lot of those instances are being cut off by ETOS' really good use of his primary instruction. I can't emphasize how important those two are being this game for the red team.
Yeah, most definitely. And something else really important here was the KO, but a lovely death touch from Zelos will send the core flying towards him, and ETOS not able to get up there in time to interrupt the core. This is going to give the first set victory to the Baguette boys, and what will they be rewarded with?
This is definitely, I believe, a blue team favorite draft. There's a lot of good picks for KO potential. You do have some stagger picks here, namely the bulk up and the peak performance, but you do have specialized training for that Rasmus. You do have heavy impact. You do have prize fighter. You have a lot of KO heavy awakenings.
Yeah, and surprisingly enough, the heavy impact falls down to the car. Now, I'm no forward player, alright? I'm not good outside of net. I'm a little bit scared, I might admit. But heavy impact on the car is such a scary awakening combination, because that is gonna give you cooldown, that's gonna give you damage. The car is gonna be a real menace around the edges now, if Sylvia does opt to play for it. But again, as you said, across the board, I feel like more solid pickups for the side of the Baguette boys. That's just getting more survivability with the bulk up and damage with it. They're getting their sparks going as well, which I'm not sure how much I like, because leadership is already out. You're already a bit limited in that front. And looking at the rest of the draft, the Super Surge for ETOS is incredibly valuable as well, by the way. Obviously, Mako with that movement speed enhancer just really strong, and as I'm talking about the draft, still Keep the Flip already coming back with a statement as they find it the first goal of the second set, and hope to keep on this momentum for themselves.
I really do think that Zelos and Clement got really good awakenings, and comparable and maybe even better to the Shu's and Sylvia's picks, but definitely on the same level, or either very close or just a tiny bit edge for red side perhaps. But I do think the goalie picks are the real game changer. Super Surge, as you mentioned, being a really important point of red team's attack, especially because it's allowing Kazan and Drakkar to be a lot more oppressive with their positioning. Whereas the Spark, as you said, because of leadership being out, is not a pick I'm a fan of either.
Yeah, most definitely. And Tiffany Ultimate will be there in time to get the goal in. Flip not being used by ETOS, which means it's going to be available for a future point. So we'll see how it's going to come into play. Generally speaking, energy bars decently close to flips across the board. Sylvia and Clement being the furthest away, both of them, but Flip available on both the goalies, and the brawlers are working up to theirs as well, as one barrier does drop. But again, I've said it multiple times, we don't really care. The Shoe, though, absolutely in the head of Malriknos there, gets one barrier and gets the flip wasted as well, which now allows the side of Keep the Flip to hold on to their own barriers and get themselves another attack going. The Shoe just doing all of the magic up front, trying to get it past Malriknos, but it does not work, as the Blobos will be getting the core through. Kazan again up front trying to get the core up, but just really difficult as Clement and Malriknos are holding their defensive line really, really well.
Zealous does have core flip, and he has to get dangerously low, but he still is able to get it off. He does, however, not have no energy, so I would be scared if I was him starting this next set, especially with that singular prize fighter stack that he has.
Yeah, damage dump can very much be the option here, as the black hole gets procced as well. Everyone taking a little bit of damage, but Sylvia taking the most of it, as the Finny secondary will come through as well. The Shoe needs to be a bit careful not to be taken out outright, as the barrier again does drop a nice hit, sending it to the back of TaeDeuce, and an unfortunate bounce means that Sylvia doesn't get the flip connect on it. The goal does go in. The Baguette Boys now winning a second set, and Keep the Flip needs to find something to change the momentum for themselves, because they're one set away of going into the lower bracket.
This is a very, very scary draft. You do have the 1-2 for Juno, you have the Deadeye for Finny, you have extra special for Finny as well if they want to, and for Juno, for both characters. It's a very scary draft for Red Team, especially because there is no outwardly good pick for the Drekar. He doesn't have fight or flight, but he doesn't have that missile prop. He doesn't have more survivability, which is what he needs right now. So I do think this was especially because Rasmus gets that size, I do think this is once again a blue team favorite draft.
Yeah, because everything that they're picking just kind of aligns themselves with what they want to be playing for already. You have more damage potential on the side of Keep the Flip, but the Baguette Boys are just positioning themselves pretty smartly and making it very difficult to make use of KO effectively. One barrier does drop, Malriknos does fall back to the second one. The Shoe with a nice open form umbrella will get the second one though, and again this Kazan character is so difficult to deal with. Hooks the core away from Malriknos and just sends it right past him without him being able to do anything about it.
At this stage of the game, I really do think that Blue Team does need to focus a lot on two things, which is being able to keep core control while simultaneously dealing as much damage as they can to the Drekar, which is the most vulnerable target in the Red Team. If they are able to do that, I think they'll have a very easy time getting the set like they did the last ones. But if they don't, then the opposite, because this Kazan with double size is being a complete menace. Or rather, one size, but 1-2.
Well, yeah, but it's just going to continue on being a menace, because Keep the Flip are just finding their groove right now. They got another double barrier into goal really quick. If you do this a third time, you can get yourself another draft, right, that you can be playing with. And in that draft, there could be quite a few very strong awakenings for you. Again, you find one barrier, Flip comes out, you find a KO. As Keep the Flip are keeping themselves alive, get the second barrier here. The Shoe and Sylvia just being so oppressive that Mako secondary giving them that extra bit of size to just win these strike wars, trying to set themselves up. Malriknos does not need to use the flip here, does get the barrier. No, TaeDeuce is there in time. And now Zealous taking a lot of damage from the Drekar again, and the Shoe just getting in there with that 1-2 as well. A lot of damage coming through, but the positional advantage still is in the hands of Keep the Flip. The Erasmus hook will get the second barrier there, but the Shoe now in a clean 1v1 with Malriknos, and if I'm in a 1v1 with any character, I wouldn't want it to be the Kazan usually, but it is defended pretty well, and the Juno Blobo will actually send it past TaeDeuce. TaeDeuce not able to walk down in time and react.
The Shoe is really coming alive in the second set. They really have been able to get a lot of more of their combos in, getting through that Finny goal a lot more, which is definitely what they need to do to win this game. The Blue Team really needs to be careful and catch their bearings to be able to finish out this game.
Yeah, most definitely. They get a lot of damage onto Silvio here, which is nice. Get that connecting piece a bit out there, but the Shoe is in front of the barrier. Again, does get a flip there. The barrier still being taken now with clean strikes from Silvio. They're trying to take the Drekar out, but I'm not sure if that's going to be necessarily enough. But the Juno jump with aerials, that range is so difficult to really be playing against. A nice strike from Clement will actually get them the goal, and now the Baguette Boys, in a set that looked very Keep the Flip dominated, are now just one goal away from taking the second game and taking the series with it as well.
This is a very vital point for Red Team. If they do get this point, they might be able to carry that momentum into a fourth set, which is definitely what they need right now. but they do not have barriers. This is a very fragile situation for them that gets finished by anticlimactically by a bit of an oopsie from the shoe.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of an awkward angle there, right? Not expecting the core to go directly through him there, and Teidu's again on that Mako. Just limited with mobility. If you don't have these primaries available, it's going to be difficult to really defend that. And yeah, the Baguette Boys, in the end, in a game where Keep the Flip looked like they were finding their footing again, the Baguette Boys closed it out where they needed to, because I genuinely do believe if the side of Keep the Flip find that third set win, we're looking at an entirely different game. I feel like the Baguette Boys might be having a really tough time into the scaling from the side of Keep the Flip, and they would be potentially forced into a game 3, but they did find it in the end. They did find the goal they needed to put themselves into the position of winning the series, and with that, they're finding themselves in the winner finals for the Clarion Corp trials. Nitron, do you have anything to say for both of the teams? All right, we'll see how it's gonna pan out in the rest of today. I feel like as well, if I'm looking at the stats really quick, I just want to point that out. You have, again, a pretty decent distribution between the redirects, which means everyone's getting themselves properly involved. Valorknos does have the most damage, which, I mean, figured, right? Finny is going to be doing a lot of damage for the side of the Baguette Boys, and that's what they were playing for in the end, although the KOs were even across the field. But either way, that was the first series of the many that are going to be played today, and obviously it's not going to be done at this point just yet. The other semifinals still being played out between Norm Saturday and Smoking Lucio. As of right now, Smoking Lucio leading at that one with a 1-0, but this should close it up for this very first series of the day. Next one that we're going to be streaming is going to be the winners final, which is going to come up sometime soon. So we will go into a small intermission, as we're gonna figure out some streamer stuff as well. So maybe there's gonna be a little bit of a stream restart. We'll have to see. Just stay tuned for the next game. Do not go anywhere, and we'll see you guys in just a bit.